I won't even know. I don't even know what to call this. I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. Like this loadout is one of the most craziest loadouts I ever. This is one of the most UK loadouts I seen in my entire life, bro. They tweaking in the UK once again. I'm not even surprised because they always tweaking. But this time it's in Newham. You feel me? Newham is a place that I don't know about. It's new to me. That's why it's Newham. That was a corny joke. I'm not gonna say that no more. But it's some new stuff going on that we need to figure out about and see if it's really diabolical, like everybody gassing up. Because they saying, oh yeah, it's one of the wildest places. Is it really wild or they bapping?
Because of the fucking sick. Because of the fucking bitch. If you didn't run away, then you would have gone ahead. CJ for hitting his wig. Where's he at? I don't know where he is. Hey, man got chopped in his wig. The butcher shop.
My brother. If your phone is, I know you see your phone lagging like that before you posted it. I know you see your phone lagging before you posted it, my brother. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. If I see my phone lagging and stuff like, I'm not even gonna post it, bro. That's pretty diabolical.
I'm fucking sick.
No hook, ACG.
Folks must have been in jail.
It would seem that CJ had some friends who were at least involved, but they would consider him not to have been a gang member in their eyes. With the response to people disrespecting CJ, a Northside Newham rapper would try to clear things up. On S13 Custom Juice, S13 would rap that Southside Newham Pepper. On Free May, really trying to air it up. Niggas wanna diss CJ, first things first.
Whoa. This the first time I did heard a creator from the UK say this. Whoa. Chat. Did y'all hear that? I'm confused because this is only I hear the drill rapper say this. What type of behavior is coming from this? Boy, I'm wait, hold up, this crazy. I ain't never heard this type of language before from the UK creators now. This wow, unless the interview guy, but you know he a black dude, you feel me? That's the only, outside of that, I don't hear UK drill plug would never, or Skyboy.
First, let me clear it up. That's my little bro, but I swear that he weren't involved. So all this talk,
I think he might be African American. No, not African American, African British. I think he might be African British.
Like you're smoking on ops, rude boy, you ain't smoking on a soul. After the murder of CJ, rapper.
No, he is. I think he is. I just been like, cause I never seen nobody just say it just outright like that. So I'm like, he had to be like African British or something. You feel me?
Young Diz and prominent members of Southside Newham known as the Twins would be arrested for this, but would be released not long afterwards. Again, this would turn into a tale of revenge.
The best UK rappers
set out to kill. The war in Newham would continue. As we may have seen, music would still be used by both sides of this ongoing beef, and you might wonder how people could be so heartless to name a 14-year-old boy being murdered disrespectfully in a song. There is no real way for the average person to contemplate why, but in the words of the self-proclaimed devil,
I mean, if he was in the streets, that's probably the reason why. But if it's just like an innocent person, yeah, you diabolical for doing that, bro.
Himself, Young Diz, he would have a question to ask about people's thoughts on him dissing CJ. He would ask, what about Promise? That guy's a civilian in Ent. And he's referring to a young man named Promise in Kenda. Promise, much like CJ, would have been referred to people in his area as a civilian, or at least somebody that has very, very loose ties to gang members.
You see, it's like, alright. It's like, yeah, because they can say the same thing about Tuka. If y'all ain't know, they said Tuka wasn't really like gang banging like that for real, but he was like gang banging, you feel me? But it's like, if you was around those dudes type stuff, yeah, bro, you already know, bro. You just gotta accept what come with it if you hanging with them, bro. Even if you not with it, you a scholar, valedictorian, you around them people, just know you might go down with them people.
On the 14th of February in 2018, various members of a Northside Newham gang would steal a BMW from a woman. This may sound like just a carjacking, but the group would be accused of having premeditated intentions due to the fact that they would use latex gloves and decide to turn off their mobile phones. The gang of teenagers, ages ranging from 14 to 17 years old at the time, would be inside the BMW for some time. One of the passengers was wearing a tag monitor on his leg due to being involved in previous drug dealing offences. The gang would search for their enemies, and in what seems to be a case of mistaken identity, would see the then 19-year-old Promise.
Bro, he gotta give like what's that warning? That epilepsy warning. That epilepsy warning, cause this stuff keep flashing, bro. I'm boy, you flashing this stuff at me, bro. On game making my eyeballs flicker.
Walking along the pavement with his two friends. The car approached them from behind and would drive into Promise in an obvious attempt to injure him. Promise would be forced onto the bonnet and would attempt to flee from the attackers, but the attackers would burst out
Whoa.
of the car and chase Promise. They were armed with at least one knife. Promise was caught up to and cornered by the gang. He would be viciously stabbed repeatedly, with some of the wounds being very deep. It's clear that a lot of force was used. Promise would be stabbed in the thigh, upper arm, chest, head, and also in the face. He was stabbed.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro, with force. But I ain't gonna back. Y'all be strong, bro, because dude stabbed through his hand and went inside his chest, bro. That's when I found out y'all UK people really strong.
At least 15 times in total, and tragically he would pass away. He was clearly killed in a case of mistaken identity in a completely frenzied attack that is horrific to say the least. This war has seen many lives lost, and Promise, much like the other deceased, would be missed dearly by many. His funeral would be uploaded to YouTube by a channel called Top African News.
Ooh, they coming out smooth with the horses, though. Hey, go back to you. Real life, bro. When I pass away, gang, y'all gotta have the horses and stuff for me. I ain't gonna back to you. Real deal. I need like one black, one white on gang.
Yo, come on, please. You gotta move the sword now, please.
Hey, gang, I'm not even trying to laugh, but why is y'all playing this type of music at a funeral? Do. It sounds like cloud music. This look like this supposed to be a joke right now. I ain't go back to you. Y'all can't be playing this type of music and crying and stuff, bro. I ain't go back to you. Y'all don't got no sad music. Like, who did y'all hire for this?
To teach us
Demain, ça
something.
sera qui? Et ça sera comment?
And then tomorrow, what would it be like?
Que la gloire soit rendue à Dieu.
I think it's important to show the reality of how this lifestyle goes. Sadly, the fact remains that street beefs, which may have started from petty disputes, can turn so deadly that whole communities are not safe in the streets that they live in for generations. Promise has lost his life without even being involved, and his killers would not be free in the streets for long. In fact, they would go on to be sentenced to a range between 14 and 18 years, and one of these happens to be another name that many drill fans will know. His name is Vando. Vando is pictured here at the funeral of CJ. It's crazy how CJ was known to be a civilian who is not an active gang member, and so is Promise, yet in a presumed attempt to get revenge for CJ, he would actually end up killing a civilian. As we have seen before, music has played some part in all of this, whether it's been used as a form of artistic expression about reality or used as a taunt to provoke enemies. The reason the name may be familiar to drill fans is because Vando gets a lot of shout outs by his assumed friend Yanko on drill tracks.
Yeah, I don't know who Yanko be shouting out for real. I just be hearing them shout out people and I'm like, oh yeah. The main thing I be picking up from the UK drill is when they doing some diabolical stuff to somebody. But if they just shouting out someone, I don't really pay no attention. Now, if you said, oh yeah, someone got chinged and then you say his name, they're not going to pay attention because you say he got chinged.
With one song even being named Free Vando. Songs that he was shouted out on include Free Vando by Yanko, KZ and Yanko Can't Rate, Yanko No Hook, Yanko Light Work Freestyle. As crazy as all of this is the reality for many of these artists in the UK drill scene. Not only do they use music as a way to provoke enemies, they also use it as a way to show respect to their friends and dead friends. As time would pass, artists would see much success, one of those being CB, hailing from Northside, Newham. It doesn't seem like music would fulfill CB enough, however, as he would still have one foot in the streets. At the stage that CB was in his career, he would have had an opportunity to walk away and leave everything behind, but he would soon make headlines all over the country, and it wasn't for his music. In case you don't know who he is, let me give you a quick rundown. He rose to fame quickly in the genre of UK drill when he dropped the song Take That Risk. This song would be removed from YouTube
Ain't that the song y'all just had me play though? Wasn't this the song y'all had me play? Or is that a different song?
numerous times, with there being several re-uploads since then. but it would still have massive success and it would go on to be featured in the film Blue Story. He would go on to continue making music, and as you might remember from
Bro, so why do all these UK songs titles be the same titles? I ain't gonna lie to you. Was it something that was like risk something, or am I tweaking?
earlier, he would be gritty and relentless in the way that he would disrespect his enemies, including the dead. As well as being a musician, he was an active member of the Northside Newham Alliance. On the 26th of July in 2018, CB would be in a BMW and would clearly be on his way.
Bro, why he look like a Wii character? I ain't gonna lie to you. He looked like the dude that be boxing on Wii, just a darker skin color.
At least to find somebody to attack. He would be wearing a clown mask, and 4 others in the BMW would have their faces either partially or fully covered. All 5 of them would be wearing gloves. CB was armed with a shotgun, and there were also knives, an axe, and a machete on the.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Y'all came with this now. Where do y'all get these? You see, we do not condone nothing inside this educational documentary. Bro got a shotgun, and I don't even know what would y'all even call this? Like, I wouldn't even know. I don't even know what to call this. I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. Like, this loadout is one of the most craziest loadouts I ever. This is one of the most UK loadouts I seen in my entire life, bro. And then that shotgun so long, bro. Bro, that's they overwhooping.
The others. This could have been the end of one or maybe more people's lives that night, but the police would have other plans. At some point on the car's journey, the police would pursue them. CB would for some reason decide to point the shotgun at the police, with the police reacting frantically.
Whoa.
Pointing a long barrel weapon at us.
Whoa. Look how small these streets is, bro. It ain't no way you could really get away like that for real, bro. This the police body cam, bro.
Eventually, the car came to a stop and the occupants had run away, but 4 of
Brother, no. Look how extended that is out the. It's going all the way out the window, my boy. That thing is, bro. Ain't no way you gonna be able to aim that, brother. You gotta real life get out the car like this and sit on the side of the door if you want to do that. It ain't no way, bro, you gonna be able to aim that, bro. It ain't no way possible. I ain't going back. You gotta hang out the door if you trying to do that, bro. We don't condone nothing in this educational documentary, especially that thing right there.
them were caught. One man did manage to escape and remains free to this day. CB and the 4 other men would.
And then y'all lie, bro. Y'all said he pointed it. He stuck it out the window. He stuck it out the window, and y'all gonna say he pointed it at them. Y'all see, y'all just be lying and stuff. That's the problem right there.
Go on to receive 23 years each in total. They were all known to have criminal records and said to be involved in the Northside Newham gang. This would not be.
No! Y'all playing with y'all life. Y'all playing with y'all life. Ain't no way you doing a dash on these. He almost lost his life right there, gang. Right there, he almost would have been cooked. If that car didn't move the right way, bro, folks would have been over with. I ain't gonna back to you, bro. This is y'all playing crazy games. Y'all living on the edge for sure. I ain't gonna back to you. Y'all living on the edge.
The end of CB's music career, however, because later on that year he would release an album, and then sometime later he would release a joint project with none other than J Hus. It would seem that J Hus would keep himself relatively far from the gang activity, and this would keep him out of trouble for most of the time, but he did have some issues going to prison for carrying knives. Young Diz, who is in the opposing Stitz gang, aka Southside Newham, would be next to find himself in legal troubles. This would go on to be such a huge story that Young Diz would literally have a documentary made about him due to accusations against him for exploiting young people to do crimes on his benefit. How did yet another drill rapper make such an impact on the country to where he became a household name for being at a time the most disrespectful rapper in the whole?
Don't tell me he caught a body with the red dead shotgun, cause that's crazy. I ain't gonna back to you.
Whole of the country, and a serious gang leader who would end up showing that his dark side does not just show through music. Young Diz would lose his mother at a very young age. This would clearly impact him in a huge way. He would rap about her in a heartfelt Tim Westwood freestyle. Again, he would express sorrow on a freestyle, this time on the Black Box platform.
I ain't gonna lie to you. My mama passed away. I might be out here with extended shotguns too in the UK. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro, but we don't condone that.
Where he would openly talk about his family issues growing up, having uncles in prison, and saying he had no older brother to walk him through flats, which is a clear statement that he feels he brought himself up in the streets to some extent. He goes on to bluntly but powerfully say how his mother passed away recently, and it's genuinely touching. In this freestyle, Young Diz would also mention that Potter Paper had told him to keep writing. It's a shame that he never listened to that advice and took the latter advice from another friend telling him to keep writing. He was clearly showcasing a talent for music and would continue to do so. However, it wouldn't be an introspective, heartfelt rap career going forward. At some point, Young Diz would become known as the devil of drill for his disrespectful lyrics. This change-up of style of music seems to have symmetry of how he would act in life, considering the case that he would soon be found guilty of. As we discussed earlier, Young Diz was stabbed several times and shot in one single occasion. This kind of
Retiring. I ain't gonna lie to you. That happened to me. I'm retiring. You not finna. If I live through that, bro, that means you got a second chance at life. Take it how you want to take it. I'm leaving if that happened to me.
trauma, losing a mother, and being in the gang-infested streets of Southside Newham for most of his life would seemingly spur him to spiral out of control. The police would say that Young Diz had spent a number of weeks grooming young teenagers by buying them food and even lending them money before eventually encouraging them to engage in torture. They said that Young Diz used drill music to glorify crimes to teenagers as young as 14. He would tell them that drill music is real life, not art. According to reports, this would
Yeah, we don't condone any of that. Like, bro, that's how you know the streets don't care about you. If anyone trying to convince you to be in the streets, bro, they don't care about you. I ain't gonna bap to you.
entice him to leave behind a life of school, football and normal activities to seek a life of crime. For an unknown reason, Young Diz would convince a group of these kids, 2 14-year-olds and 2 16-year-olds, to assist him in a kidnap. But this would be of another teenager, a 16-year-old boy.
Oh no, Brody is tripping. First of all, bro, you tripping doing that with them just because you was gonna go to jail. You really think they not gonna tell on you? You an overgrown man. You think they not gonna tell on you, bro? If y'all get caught, bro, they gonna tell on you, bro. You just easily just got yourself locked up, bro. I ain't gonna back to you. I mean, if they don't tell on you, bro, that mean they solid. But I think they gonna tell on you, bro. We don't condone this.
So on the 2nd of August in 2018, one of the teenagers made contact with the 16-year-old and they agreed to meet. Young Diz and the 4 teenagers pulled up to meet him in a Ford Mondeo. The 16-year-old was immediately punched in the head and body and told to get into the car. While in the car, he was threatened with a machete and he had 2 plastic bags tied over his head and secured with a rubber band. At this point, the 16-year-old was sure that he was
Nah, they was watching too many movies. They got that idea for a movie, I ain't gonna lie to you.
going to die. He was driven to the home of one of the teenagers, where he would be humiliated and tortured. He was forced to take off his clothes as Young Diz filmed him and threatened to cut him up. The 16-year-old was then hit with a metal pole over his face, arms, legs and back, causing cuts. Young Diz tried to pour boiling water on him, but for whatever reason was not successful. But he would make the victim swallow a cannabis joint and make several threats involving scissors. I'm sure we can use our imagination for that one. His parents were called and he was forced to beg for £1,500 to be released. The gang would bank on the idea that he
Oh yeah, you gonna go to jail for sure. You already know if you out here trying to tell someone to pay, you going to jail. If they give you that money, just know they gave you that money just so they can figure out where you at so you can go to jail.
would not snitch, but he was scared for his life and he would tell his family what happened. This would lead to all 4 of them being arrested. Young Diz would be sentenced to 12.5 years for these crimes, and the teenagers would get off of sentences ranging from 2.5 years to 3.5 years. 2 of the youths in the case with Young Diz would be released in 2019, and just a couple of weeks
They didn't tell. Oh yeah, it's because they knew in the UK what you get 2 years and stuff. They knew they wasn't gonna have to do no real time for you in America. They would, oh yeah, we gonna try you as an adult since you want to be an adult. They don't condone that out here, man. They be tweaking. You see how they did TK?
later, they would show that the Youth Offenders Institution did not reform them whatsoever. The 2 teenagers both had tag monitors on them. However, according to reports, they were looking for revenge due to an older fellow gang member having been stabbed a few days prior. In the afternoon of August the 26th in 2019, The two teenagers would be driving a stolen Ford, wearing black clothes, latex gloves, and having their faces covered. They would set upon an unsuspecting 18-year-old named Santiago Angelo, aka Star 9. Santiago was said to have links with Northside Newham gangs. However, this has been disputed by the gang and even by his family about how deep he was involved. He had been arrested in 2018 for a stabbing but was not seen to be gang related, and members of the gang would post on Snapchat around the time that he was not Mandem, referring to the gang as Mandem. Santiago's friend would run away from the scene and make his way to his nearby home out of fear. Santiago, however, would not be as lucky. The two
I ain't gonna back to you. It's what Brody could have did in that situation, bro. Like if it's a situation where someone running up trying to unalive us, I'm running. I'm expecting you to run. I'm not gonna look back because that's how you get caught. So yeah, bro. Hopefully when I finally make it to the location and I turn around, you be right there with me. You feel me?
teenagers would attack him with machetes in a savage attack where he was slashed and stabbed multiple times in the neck and back. He would be heard screaming, "Help me," but tragically, he would collapse on the pavement and go on to lose his life. The two teenagers would go on to receive 16 years and 18 years, making both of their sentences as long as the time that either of them had been alive.
Bro, for a body, you see, this why the UK is not gonna get no better if they only getting that much time for a whole body.
One of the attackers would allegedly be overheard while on remand bragging to inmates, saying, "The machete got stuck in his head. Yeah, the blood splashed on my face. When I pulled the knife out of his head, the blood was a mad thing. Then I shanked him again. It was funny. My man was laughing." One of those listening responded, "It's like music to my ears."
Oh yeah, they trying to be on some scary movie type stuff. We don't condone none of this inside this documentary.
Then he said, crying for his mom, and mockingly imitated him, shouting in a high voice, "Mummy, mummy, mummy." Prosecution, Mr. Hallam, told jurors the other prisoners were laughing and pretending to fall over from laughter. It's crazy how just 2 weeks after these kids are released, not only are they out killing somebody, but one of them seems to show absolutely no remorse. Shootings and stabbings would be all too familiar to the residents of Newham. This would not be the last time that this gang war between Northside and Southside would have deadly results, and yet again, another innocent civilian would be caught up in the crossfire. 4 members of a Northside Newham gang would be
I ain't gonna lie, he be saying innocent civilians, but lots of the people that he's saying innocent, they do be having connections into the streets. So it's like you gotta say they had connections. I don't know if this guy had connections, but the last couple guys, y'all been like, yeah, they hanged around him, they was cool with him, and being cool with him is just enough to end up having them slide on you.
looking for their enemies on the 26th of April in 2020. It's clear that they were looking for somebody due to the following facts. They had turned off their mobile phones, they were in a stolen car with fake license plates, a sock was used to stop fingerprints being put on the steering wheel, and the gang had
they
each
on that
carried with
twin,
them
that
a
stuff.
change of clothes, with 2 of them wearing sunglasses and masks. The gang would drive around and eventually spot somebody they assumed was a rival gang member. This moment is captured on CCTV. The man depicted in CCTV would escape from the attackers. However,
He got
the Northside
gone.
Newham gang were not satisfied with this yet.
Ooh, you see, y'all fast. Y'all some fast ones I see. Okay. I'm not coming to the UK unless I train and track. I ain't gonna back to you. Y'all is not finna chase me. And if you do chase me, I'm gonna make sure y'all ain't gonna catch me. I'm gonna get gone. I ain't gonna back to you.
Yeah, so they continued their search. They would spot a second man and clearly spend some time checking him out. But it's believed that they abandoned the idea of attacking him because he looked older than the average gang member.
He said they spent some time checking him out. Do you not know that's kind of like weird to say, you checking out another man? Like, that's pretty crazy to say. Hey, go back to you.
While the gang was driving around, a young man would be seen leaving his home to go to a local shop at around 10:32. His name is David Gommer. At the time, he was a 24-year-old university graduate who worked for the NHS. His mother had also worked for the NHS, and sadly his father had recently passed away. On this night, it was only 2 days away from his father's funeral. The gang driving around would eventually spot David on the streets of Newham while he was walking and on the phone to his girlfriend. The gang would jump out of the car and approach him, asking, "Where are you from?" which was heard by David's girlfriend while she was...
You see, now that's some goofy stuff right there. We do not condone this type of behavior. If you don't know who they is, if you gotta ask who they is, that means you do not need to be trying to slide on them. That's how I personally feel. If you gotta ask who you is, where you from, that means you do not need to be trying to do anything with them because they don't got nothing to do with you, in my opinion. And if you still decide to go do something, that means you like trying to get validation, trying to get cool points from another man. I ain't gonna bap to you because why are you trying to? You feel me? He don't got nothing to do with it.
He was on the phone. The gang would attack David, who was just moments away from his house. David was stabbed 10 times by the gang. He would stagger to his front door and would collapse. Sadly, he would die just 2 days before his father's funeral.
4 men have been convicted of the murder of a 24-year-old NHS worker, David Gomo, in what prosecutors described as a frenzied attack. The court heard Mr Gomo was randomly attacked by a gang as he walked to the shops in April last year. Libu Duseko reports now from the Old Bailey.
A random murder of a young man with ambitions to make something of his life. Police say NHS worker David Gomo was killed by 4 men connected with a gang from North Newham simply because he lived in what they saw as enemy territory. 19-year-olds Mohamed Jallo and David Toure, 23-year-old Vanya Koulibaly and a 17-year-old who can't be named for legal reasons were convicted after a 6-week trial.
David Gomo was a smart, hard-working and dedicated young man. He had graduated from university and worked at the NHS. David had no gang links and was loved by many. He was murdered at random during a frenzied attack during the first pandemic lockdown. He was on the phone to his girlfriend when he was approached by his killers, who were unknown to him. The case has highlighted the tragedy that comes from postcode wars and gang rivalries.
David was stabbed at least 9 times, then managed to stagger to his home, but later died in hospital. The court was shown CCTV of the men attempting to attack another man less than an hour before. The defendants were convicted of conspiracy to cause GBH.
You see, these some goofies. I ain't gonna bap to you. These just some people that's just trying to do something because it's like, bro, if you didn't, first of all, bro, you just going around looking for people an hour before you try to do something else to someone else, and you be like, oh, well, I guess it's not gonna get to him. I gotta go slide on something. No. If you was unsuccessful, bro, first of all, you don't need to be doing this. And if you unsuccessful, bro, that means you just need to go home. Call it a night. That's what I personally feel like. I ain't gonna bap to you.
With intent for that offence.
The wounds inflicted on David were so ferocious that they had severed arteries, damaged internal organs and cut through bone. Some wounds were up to 10 centimeters deep and 5 of them could have been fatal on their own. The attack was seen on CCTV. The group would flee in the car, but somehow the wheel would fall off the car, which prompted them to walk home. 2 of the killers.
You see, I always kind of had that fear of like, yeah, well, if my tire come off, but I'll be like, man, that's kind of a low chance. Like, if you know how to put a tire on the correct way. Why is the tire flying off your car? That's pretty crazy.
Killers, one of which was just 17 at the time, left their sunglasses in the car which had their DNA on them. This attack was brutal and undeserving to say the least. After the killing, 2 of the killers...
Bro, you should have put on those sunglasses if you had to get out the car. If you getting out the car, bro, you should put the sunglasses back on, bro. Especially knowing you gotta walk, bro. You just thought like, oh, I guess we good now, bro. Like you just didn't do some diabolical actions.
Would be seen on CCTV high-fiving. One of the killers was caught on CCTV bragging to a friend that he had killed someone, and that would not even be the group's most costly mistake. One of the killers had literally drawn pictures of the murder step by step, including showing what kind of clothes they were wearing at the time of the attack.
Bro, you see, this is what I mean about the UK, bro. Why are y'all doing this? Is this a normal thing in the UK? Like, this is like some serial unaliver, scary movie, I'm finna unalive the entire house type stuff. That's what the type of stuff this going on. I ain't gonna bap to you. That's why I say y'all real like be on some scary movie type stuff. Real deal. We don't condone none of this.
And where it took place, including full-on dialogue in comic book style. A homicide detective would say that in his 20 years of service, he has never seen anything like this comic book style confession.
Okay. Had to make sure this wasn't a normal thing, but even the official day, hey, this, we never seen nothing like this before. I ain't gonna back to you. That's what I mean. I think he probably would have been, if they didn't lock him up, he probably would have been based off a movie. And I think he needs to, anyone who's doing something like that, they need to be in jail, like forever. They do not need to be out because it's like, that's not normal.
The 4 killers' actions after this murder would clearly indicate that they did not care about the crime they had just committed. This was taken into consideration in court. 2 of the killers were given 27 years, one was given 26 years, and another was given 21 years, as all were charged for.
The UK is failing y'all. The UK is y'all old problem. Y'all legal system is y'all old problem. Y'all got people out here doing unalivings and then making drawings about it, and then they get 21 years. What? That just don't make sense to me. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Murder. Interestingly, one of the people charged for this murder would turn out to have been present at the funeral of CJ. This shows that at least 2 of the people CJ was friends with were active gang members, willing to kill, presumably for revenge, but at least to further their gang's interests. The murderous feud in Newham would continue, and this time, the person who was murdered would not be considered as a civilian, although he was just 15. On the morning of the 11th of December in 2020, a 15-year-old named K. John Lubin would make a decision to steal an electric scooter. This scooter turned out to be owned by a gang member of a Northside Newham set. His street name is Yanko.
The UK must be stopped. The UK gotta be stopped. Why is he on the scooter? I would be scared if I seen this guy on the scooter. Why is you on the scooter, my boy? At least you could be on the moped. You on the scooter, my boy? No, bro. I don't trust nobody that's wearing a ski mask on the scooter. I think you doing something you don't got no business doing. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yanko would arm himself with a knife and go with one of his friends who was also armed to find the e-scooter. K. John's street name was K. Miz. So K. Miz, who had stole the scooter, was with his friend who was 28 at the time.
Bro, the UK, it just keeps getting worse, bro. So he stole the scooter. And it's like, okay, so a scooter could be a moped. Alright, bro, y'all got to be clear with this, bro. But he said electric scooter. So y'all got electric mopeds out there, gang? Electric mopeds, this how y'all coming? I ain't gonna back to you. But at the end of the day, bro, Brody riding the ski mask and the electric scooter, you don't want to take nothing from him, especially his scooter, because you know he crashing out over it.
The reason for their friendship is unclear, but it is again alleged that K. Miz was part of a Southside Newham-based gang. Less than an hour later, the e-scooter would be stolen. Yanko would find K. Miz and his 28-year-old friend talking to a small group of people. Yanko and his friend had masks on.
Are y'all lying to make yourself sound better, bro? Because he said an e-scooter. An e-scooter. He didn't say a scooter. So y'all got electric mopeds out there, gang? That's crazy, bro. I didn't know this how y'all was coming, bro. I ain't gonna back to you. I didn't know this what y'all was doing out there.
On and would approach the group. One of them moved a backpack round to the front of their body so that they had quick access to pull a knife out. The pair of Northside members would arrive in Pier Parade Square to confront K. Miz and friend about the scooter. This was only a short distance from K. Miz's house. Almost immediately after the pair had arrived, all 4 had large knives in their hands, including the 15-year-old K. Miz. But
yeah, they got electric moped. I'm pretty sure they got electric mopeds in the USA, but anyone that I seen drive a moped, that it was gas. I ain't gonna back to you. I never seen no electric moped. Like I seen electric scooters before. I seen electric scooters, you feel me? But I ain't never seen no electric moped before.
Both sets of the two would bounce around on their tiptoes side to side, and occasionally one of them would step closer to their rivals and then step back quickly before any physical contact was made. But eventually the distance between the two groups would increase. This would result in the incident seemingly being over when K. Miz had got a fair distance away and decided at a young age of just 15 to turn around and walk away with his friend. The 2 Northside members would also decide to walk away. K. Miz was heading towards his home. Both he and his friend had put away their knives. They had begun to cross the road in an attempt to leave the area, but the 2 17-year-old Northside members would change their mind about the retreat and would soon decide to follow K. Miz and his.
That's that pride. That's that pride. I ain't gonna lie to you, because they probably thinking, man, they think we some goofies. That's why they walked off. Yeah, they walked off because they think we some goofies. On gang, let's show them that we not. You see, you already know how people get. It be their pride. We don't condone nothing in this documentary.
His friend. There was some shouting and somebody had shouted, "Wait there," which was presumably Yanko or his accomplice. So Yanko and his friend would sprint towards K-Miz and his friend at full speed. Somebody would shout, "Run," but at this time it was already too late. K-Miz would see the attack coming and pulled out a knife from his coat and swung it at one of the Northside members. He would graze the cheek of one of his attackers, but would be stabbed twice. He and his friend would flee the scene and would make it into a local Nisa shop.
Y'all real life be battling. I see why Twin Ness say y'all be having battles. He said he prepared for battles. I understand what a battle mean now. I ain't gonna lie to you. We don't condone that in this documentary.
Hoping they were safe, but K-Miz would collapse in the shop. The shopkeeper called emergency services, which seemingly prompted K-Miz's friend to hide the knives that they both had in a nearby bin, which were later recovered by police. But bear in mind that he chose to do that instead of focusing on his 15-year-old friend who had been stabbed. Sadly, K-Miz, real name K-John, would die at just 15 years old. The case would seem to be an obvious murder to anyone reading through the events. However,
yeah, that's why Central C had to stop. Like, Central C, like, he been put in so much work. He been like, I had to go get some money now. And Central C just trying to show them, like, he could do the streets, make money in the streets, catch bodies, and he could be a successful rapper. Well, they can only do the streets, you feel me?
However, it would not be that simple. The judge would state these following facts. There was a significant degree of planning. The attackers instigated the incident. They were each armed with large knives, making their attack considerably more serious. They were both masked to avoid detection. One had moved their backpack to have quick access to the knife. They intended on finding and seriously hurting K-Miz, so this would look like it was an open and shut case of the murder. However, the judge would also say that they must give proper weight to the defendant's age and immaturity, and he would significantly reduce the sentence that would have been imposed on them if they were older. So in the end, the two killers were only sentenced to 2 years of prison time for violent.
It's the people, it's the prison system fault, bro. It's that's why y'all gonna forever be bad. UK is not gonna get better if y'all keep on doing these sentences.
Disorder and having a bladed article. Those were their only charges. In fact, the friend of K-Miz would also go to prison and would receive a 17-month sentence for carrying a knife. So the killers of a 15-year-old boy both had almost the same sentence as somebody who was literally only carrying a knife and used it in a threatening motion. This is shocking to go through, but as K-Miz clearly was armed, he had struck at one of the attackers. It was clear to the judge and the jury and everybody involved that he had some sort of responsibility to play. I just cannot get my head around the fact that he, K-Miz, and his friend had walked away and were set upon again, and there wasn't even a GBH with intent charge. The crime in Newham really shows how crazy the system can be. But earlier on, we spoke about Grinner, real name Abdul Jar, who was murdered. Some of the lyrics that I showed previously spoke about both Grinners being murdered. And in a tragic tale, Grinner would not be the only person in his family to die due to this ongoing war in Newham. His younger brother, known as Y Grinner or Demon Dan, would also lose his life in tragic circumstances.
Did you say his name is Demon Dan? That's a crazy name.
Abu Bakr Jr. Jar was just 18 years old when he lost his life. It's not quite clear what kind of upbringing he would have had, but many people would speculate online that the death of his brother had made him become more actively involved in gang life, perhaps wanting to feel closer to his fallen brother. He would seemingly spend a lot of time with active gang members of Southside Newham. Doing this and taking on the moniker of Y Grinner would make him a target by itself, but he would also have snippets of a rap video where he would diss the deceased rival.
Try to claim BB ain't winning. Like, who are you fucking kidding? My nigga, your heart ain't fucking in it. I can separate the real from the fake. Niggas nowadays will kill to pay. Like, niggas nowadays will snake their own mates. Me and you were born different, we weren't born the same way.
Is they in jail? Is they in jail recording this off of Android?
Make money online, get the food consigned, that's a DO rhythm. Like Ben 10, you were out on a mission. If we see you up at the bed in a minute. You cuss them bitch, go through main roads in a fucking sick. Tell you guys is a fucking bitch, if you didn't run away, then you would've got hit.
I'm reading this stuff. They said too rude. That's crazy, bro. It's funny when I hear y'all say rude. Rude.
Got hit in his wig, where's he at now? I don't know where he is. Hey, my man got chopped in his wig, the butcher shop closed at fucking 6.
Their father would state that Abu Bakr, who was 14 when his older brother Grinner was killed, took the loss of his older brother badly and would repeatedly call his brother's mobile phone, praying that he would pick up. He was once a talented footballer who had played for Crystal Palace Academy. He also had a plan B of getting into property if football didn't work out. A friend who grew up with him said that he lost all motivation due to his brother's murder. His father, Mr. Jar, would say that he was a very quiet boy and then his behaviour started to change around 16. Due to not going to school through COVID times and the pressures of modern day life for teenagers, especially in that kind of environment, he would seem to spend more time in the streets of Southside Newham. Proof is that he would be spotted on social media chilling with Newham artist Young Bane. At just 18 in 2021, on the 9th of April, the police were called to a report of fighting on a street in Custom House, Southside Newham. When they arrived, they would find the then 18-year-old Abu Bakr, aka White Grinner, with stab wounds. However, another person was stabbed in this altercation, but it's unclear whether it was White Grinner's attacker. But reporters say neither victim made an allegation, which may indicate that White Grinner and the other person had stabbed each other, but there's nothing to suggest that White Grinner was caught with a knife at the time. After this took place, he would be taken to hospital and let out with pretty much no more intervention. It must have been known that he was the younger brother of a known gang member who was killed and would be targeted himself, but it seems like there was not much done in terms of prevention for the upcoming events that would take place just a couple of weeks later. So on April the 26th of 2021, White Grinner would be ferociously attacked again, just yards away from his home. 9 people have been arrested and are being charged for being involved in this crime, showing that there was likely a lot of planning and coordination to get to him. Around 2:40 p.m.
That's why I be telling y'all, bro, like if you get an opportunity to survive something, you need to leave because you ain't gonna get no other chance if it happen again. 9 times out of
White
10.
Grinner would be standing outside of his home address on the corner of another road. A dark SUV type Jeep would pull up next to him. White Grinner would appear to approach the passenger side of the car. As he does, he would be shot in the chest with a shotgun, and the driver of the Jeep would leap out of the vehicle as White Grinner lay on the floor. He would proceed to viciously stab the 18-year-old multiple times in the chest. He would then get back into the Jeep and drive away, eventually crashing into a parked car. Despite paramedics arriving at the scene and doing the best that they could, tragically,
You see, at first, if I didn't know how the streets look, I'd be like, how you crashed into a parked car. But knowing how y'all streets is literally like this, and the car is literally overly close, one wrong turn, slight turn actually, you're gonna bump into a car.
White Grinner was pronounced dead at 3:14 p.m. from shotgun and stab wounds to the chest. A young man seemingly lost in a place he is trapped in, losing his older brother and then his own life in an absolute brutal way. No parent should have to bury their children, but for them to have lost 2 children in these horrific circumstances is shocking. A Reddit user named Dagnam Stepper had put up a picture showing the area depicting just how close the deaths of the 2 brothers were in distance. The distance literally looks like it's less than a minute walks away. Previously, we spoke about the fact that Grinner and White Grinner had been disrespected in music since their death. One of the rappers, named S13 from Northside Newham, is one of the rappers who had dissed them. He also happens to be one of the 9 who is currently being detained and charged with White Grinner's murder. The charges were brought against him while he was already in prison for having shot at Young Bane previously. But we have to remember, he has not been found guilty of this crime yet. The crazy thing is that there are still many other deaths that have not been put into this video, but they are still a result of knife and gun crime in Newham. Plus, there's many more stabbings and shootings which haven't resulted in death, but they just cannot 100% be attributed to the ongoing war between Northside and Southside Newham. But it just goes to show you how dangerous the borough is for the residents of Newham, that these are not even all of the stabbings, shootings and attacks that have taken place in the area. And the war does not seem to be over. There's still back and forths, whether musically or
So basically, the war is still going on in Newham. Well, I mean, he did just talk about a 2021 situation, but we do not condone anything at all in this educational, informational documentary. And if you watch this educational, informational documentary all the way through, I know you're going to mess with another documentary. So don't forget to go watch another educational, informational documentary like this.